the apocalypse is here, and I'm paralyzed and trapped on the 16th floor, and the 2 cats and 1 dog I kept at home awakened superpowers. They not only took on the mission of raising me, to cheer me up, they also brought back different men for me every few days, from pure big boys to elite social men. As long as they're good looking, they'll get them all for me, until my goofy dog dragged my ex-boyfriend back. Auntie Lee, who was supposed to come to my place at 8 a.m. to make breakfast, hadn't shown up by 12 p.m. I struggled to get from the bed to the wheelchair, and just as I was about to turn the doorknob, I suddenly heard voices arguing outside. My body stiffened in fear. I looked around, gritted my teeth, and grabbed the vase on the table, while breathing in softly to calm myself. I carefully opened the door a crack. Angry voices from outside squeezed through the crack. Are you trying to get beaten? I'm asking you. Words are useless. Let me beat this stinky dog. Beat him, screw him. Those people outside were noisy, and in between, I could hear the whimpering of my Alaskan Malamute. My heart pounded with fear. The thought of my dog being beaten made me unable to stay calm any longer. I yanked the door open and forcefully pushed the wheelchair out, holding up the vase and shouting, I've already called the police. I warn you, put down my cat and dog, otherwise, I'll fight you to the death. I rushed out from the corner, but didn't see any villains. All I saw was my calico cat riding on top of a chubby Alaskan Malamute, furiously batting its head with its claws. Beside them was a fluffy, plump ragdoll, holding up its little paws and shouting in a mumble, bap him, bap him. My vision went black, and I almost fainted. I tremblingly pulled out my phone, wanting to search online. My pet cat and dog have started talking. Where can I find an exorcist? As soon as I opened my phone, a flood of doomsday news drowned me. Zombies. I stared silently for a long time at the things in the phone's short videos that could jump 3 meters high, mouths agape, snarling and biting. I don't think you can call these zombies. They should be called superhumans. To confirm the authenticity of the video, I moved my wheelchair towards the balcony. The 3 little ones, who were having a blast fighting, finally noticed my presence. The 3 little ones exchanged a glance, and Yuhuahua was the first to jump down and follow me. Yu Shosho, with her chubby but wiggling and fluffy tail held high, followed in second place. The silly dog Yu Pang Pang, who was the biggest, fattest, and got spanked the most at home, trotted along behind everyone else. I grabbed the balcony railing and looked down. The park, usually bustling with children playing, was quiet now, not a soul in sight. Could there really be zombies? My legs were paralyzed. I couldn't stand, so I could only crane my neck to see. If there are zombies, we're really screwed. We don't have much food at home to begin with. Their food supply is only about 3 bags left for the 3 of them, and it'll be gone in less than half a month. Once the food runs out, we'll face an extremely tough challenge. Although the 3 of them can talk now, they're still just pets, after all. And I, their owner, happen to be a nobody with no family, a useless person who can only move around in a wheelchair. If food becomes scarce, I won't be able to support them at all. I bit my knuckle, contemplating how to escape this predicament. Yuhuahua, however, easily leaped onto the railing in front of me. It elegantly licked its paw and opened its little mouth, saying, "What's there to be afraid of? Azai, I'll take care of you from now on." I stood frozen, my mind a jumbled mess. In these past 30 minutes, I've experienced the apocalypse, pets talking, and now, I've been properly seated by Yuhuahua, the calico cat from home. My Alaska waddled over and scooped a spoonful of cat food for me. "Eat up quickly, good baby," put its chubby little face on the table and nudged me with its nose. Seeing that I wasn't eating, it picked up its own dog food and placed it in front of me. "If you don't like that, then I'll give you my food." I paused for a moment, and before I could say anything, my calico cat quickly ran over and kicked that silly dog. Then I heard yell, "You stupid dog." Ragdoll, carrying a small backpack, came trotting over. It was so angry its whiskers twitched, and it raised its voice to the Alaska. "You're as dumb as dirt. Do you think Azai is as smart as us? She doesn't know to eat directly with her mouth." As soon as it finished speaking, I saw a pair of chopsticks fly out of nowhere in front of me. The plump ragdoll squatted in front of me, motioning for me to take the chopsticks, then patted the back of my hand with its paw. "Good boy, eat by yourself. When we come back from hunting, we'll bring you delicious food." Spoke to me in a tone used to coax children. "We'll be back very soon. Don't miss us too much." It turned its head to look at the dog by my feet, but changed to a haughty tone. "Stupid dog, when we're not here, you have to take good care of Azai." My mind was still in a daze, while Yuhuahua had already finished licking the fur on its body, and was sitting neatly by the door. Time to go, Yu Huahua said. Its gaze quickly swept over me, and after making eye contact with me, it nonchalantly looked at the ground. Yu Huahua was the first cat I picked up. It's a calico cat. When I found it, its eyes hadn't opened yet, and kids in the neighborhood had tied it to a rock and thrown it into a pond. When I fished it out, it was almost out of breath, but I saved it later, raising it from a scrawny little kitten to the sleek and beautiful creature it is now. It's a short-haired calico, all snow white, but its tail is a shining golden yellow. Its left and right ears and the mask on its face are one yellow and one black. Very beautiful. Now it sits by the door, its expression calm, but it's obvious at a glance that it's the boss of the house. The plump ragdoll Yu Shosho in front of me responded but didn't move. Instead, it squatted in front of me, its big sapphire blue eyes wide, looking at me with some reluctance. I hesitated for a moment and reached out to stroke its head. Yu Shosho rubbed her head against mine contentedly, and whispered, "I'm leaving now." It jumped down from the table with its small floral cloth bag on its back, but it didn't jump well and tripped its hind legs. I instinctively reached out to catch it, but saw Yu Shosho's chubby body stop in mid-air for no reason. "That was close," it exclaimed, wagged its tail, and then hopped off towards Yu Huahua. The room door was opened by Yu Shosho out of thin air, and it walked out first. Yu Huahua turned its head and looked at me with its blue-green eyes, saying, "Don't worry, we'll go out to find food for you and scout out the neighborhood. At the same time, I'll be back soon. If someone knocks on the door while I'm gone, whatever you do, don't open it." "Okay," I nodded. Before I could even say, "Be careful," Yu Huahua had already walked out, and the door closed behind them. It was the first time my child had left my sight, and I was both nervous and worried. Even if they seem to have special abilities, they're still just my little cats. I tried to look for them by the window, but Yu Peng persistently pushed the cat food in front of me. It stared at the cat food in the bowl, drooling, and said to me, "Eat up, good kitty." I paused for a moment and pushed the bowl towards it. Yu Peng's eyes lit up. "Oh my god, good kitty, you love me so much." Yu Huahua and Yu Shosho were gone for nearly an hour. I stood by the window, staring outside for an hour. The phone's internet was spotty, still showing some previously uploaded zombie videos, but there were no more. The internet started to go down, unable to make calls, unable to go online for the latest news, and even less able to find rescue. I waited at home anxiously, pushing my wheelchair around and around by the window. Creepy, terrifying roars gradually came from downstairs, along with human screams and chewing sounds. My worries tangled into a knot, and I finally made up my mind. No, I still have to go out and look for them. Clearly, I'm the master. There's no reason for my cubs to be struggling outside, while I just sit back and enjoy it. I pushed my wheelchair towards the kitchen, startling Yu Peng who was sleeping nearby. It blinked its eyes in confusion and followed my wheelchair, asking, "Good cub, what are you doing with that knife? Good cub, what are you doing with that round iron pot?" "Ah, I know. Are you planning to eat the iron pot?" Yu Peng stuck out its tongue, saying excitedly, "I want to eat too. I want to eat too. I want to eat too." The wheelchair stopped in place, and I looked at the Alaskan Malamute, which stood up to my chest, with a complicated expression. After a long silence, I managed to utter, "I finally understand why Huahua decided to keep you." Yu Peng puffed out its chest, looking very proud. I could only sigh and go out another scoop of dog food for it. Yu Peng wagged its tail and went to eat, while I detoured to the bedroom to find something for protection. I rummaged through the back of the closet and found an old cycling helmet, from when my legs weren't paralyzed, and decisively put it on. Then I taped the bowl to important parts like my knees, and tied iron pots to my chest and back. I wanted to tie one for Yu Peng too, and was about to place the iron pot on its head. As a result, it swiped the iron pot off with a paw and started to chew it. With a crisp crack, the iron pot had a big hole chewed through it. I put my hand to my forehead. Peng. Yu Peng was startled, dropped it at my feet, and dared not bite anymore. As a result, with one stomp, the pot instantly shattered into pieces. I looked at the pieces of the pot on the ground, and Yu Peng with a look of having made a mistake. I probably guessed its special ability. Peng, are you made of iron walls and iron teeth? I pried its mouth open and looked left and right. Yu Peng excitedly spun around, then repeated my words. "Yay, steel teeth, steel teeth. Okay, it doesn't understand anything." I gave a wry smile and rubbed its little head. "Let's go find your two sisters together." But upon hearing this, Yu Peng immediately stopped and said, "No, we can't go out." Its tail drooped, and its face was full of dejection. Hua Hua said your safety is the most important thing. Xiao Xiao said, you're too stupid and not agile, so I'm supposed to protect you here. Yu Peng Peng was very insistent, even blocking me at the door with his body, not letting me go out. I had a bit of a headache and wanted to try persuading him again, but suddenly there was a rapid knocking at the door from outside. Open the door quickly, open the door quickly, open the door quickly. A sharp, shrill voice called out from outside. Who is it? Yu Peng Peng immediately asked. Is it Xiao Xiao? It's me, it's me, it's me. The voice outside replied. Yu Peng Peng's eyes lit up. Then I'll open the door for you. The chubby Alaskan wagged its butt and trotted happily to the door. I frowned, feeling something was a bit off. My Xiao Xiao, being a little ragdoll, usually prided herself on her elegance. Her voice was always delicate and sweet. Even when I teased her, it was like spoiled, exasperated whining. She had never spoken in such a sharp, shrill tone before. Don't open the door. I called out to stop him. Just as Yu Peng Peng's chubby paws were about to knock on the door, I quickly pushed the wheelchair over. Peng Peng. Before I could finish speaking, I saw Yu Peng Peng using his paws, which were big enough to smash the door, to paw at the door. I paused for a moment, and suddenly felt that I might have overestimated my little dog's intelligence. Sure enough, after it pawed at the door and found it wasn't opening, it asked with some confusion, why isn't this door opening yet? I used to be able to open it very quickly. I didn't make a sound, not wanting to tell it that as soon as it pawed at the door, I would open it for it. Thinking for a moment, I grabbed the small snacks placed on top of the sweeping robot and shook them. The next second, Yu Peng Peng's eyes lit up and he ran towards me. Snack time. Although the little guy had awakened superpowers and the ability to speak, it seemed like he was still as easily coaxed as before. I stuffed 2 pieces of dried food into its mouth and whispered, Peng Peng, there are bad guys outside. Mommy is going to open the door. Can you help Mommy fight the bad guys? The little guy, gnawing on the dried food, nodded briskly, its big tail wagging stopped behind it. With Yu Peng Peng's agreement, I thought for a moment, adjusted my gear neatly, and then pushed the wheelchair to the door. The knocking on the door outside was still going on, tapping with an extremely regular rhythm. This doesn't sound like a normal human, or rather, like my cat is knocking. Besides them, the most common things here are those half-human, half-ghost creatures. Many bad guesses had already appeared in my mind. I took a deep breath and opened the door with the speed of lightning. After seeing the slobbering, decaying thing at the door, my face instantly turned pale. It's really a zombie, and it's a zombie that can simulate human voices. My whole body felt weak. Thankfully I was sitting in the wheelchair. Otherwise falling on the ground would have been quite embarrassing, and my appearance immediately excited the zombies at the door. The zombies opened their mouths to bite me. I didn't care about anything and picked up a cleaver and swung it wildly. I missed them all, not hitting a single one. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry, seeing the smelly zombies getting closer and closer. I had no choice but to shout, Peng Peng. In an instant, that chubby little gas tank rushed out from the house, knocked the zombie flying, almost shoving the entire zombie into the wall, unable to move. Finally, Yu Peng Peng stood in place, wagging his tail wildly at me, his small round eyes shining at me. I reached out and patted its head, saying, good dog. Yu Peng Peng's tail wagged even more joyfully. Good boy. It's really dangerous outside. Yu Peng Peng's paws were on my knees. It looked at me with a worried expression. I knew what it meant. It was indeed very dangerous outside, with zombies all around, and I am a paralyzed person, a weakling with no strength to even hold a chicken. It's highly possible that I would be bitten by a zombie or eaten directly, if I didn't go far. I knew all of this, and very clearly. However, Yu Hua Hua and Yu Xiao Xiao had been out for over an hour. They still hadn't returned, and I was really worried. My kitties, even though they now have superpowers, can talk, and are smart and capable, but in the end, in my eyes, they are no different from my babies. They came to me when they were 2 or 3 months old, and I've been taking care of them ever since. Yesterday they were still snuggling in my arms, showing their bellies for pets. Today they are all cleaned up and went out to find food for me, but before today, they had hardly ever left the house. This sudden change has made the kitties hold up the sky for our home, but I still can't help but be scared. Scared they'll get lost, scared they'll encounter bad people. I've lost so many things since I was little. I can't lose them too, can I? I took a deep breath, patted Yu Peng Peng's small round head, and said softly, because I am your mommy, so even if I know it's a sea of fire outside, for you, I am willing to brave it. Yu Peng Peng tilted his head, not quite understanding, and just mumbled, oh dear. There's no other way. Anyway, we're all out. If Hua Hua and Pang Pang ask, I can only say the door opened by itself. I couldn't stop laughing, held it and petted it a lot, kissed it enough to make up for it, and then took the elevator downstairs. It's a good thing the power hasn't gone out yet, otherwise I would have a lot to deal with. The usually lively community is now quiet, not a soul in sight. I, with you Pang Pang, huddled behind a pillar, carefully surveying the surroundings. Only when I confirmed there was no danger did I push the wheelchair outwards. Before I could go far, Yu Pang Pang sniffed the air and its tail started wagging even faster. I smell Hua Hua and Xiao Xiao. Over there. Yu Pang Pang pointed in one direction, seeing that I was struggling to push the wheelchair myself. It simply helped me push from behind. With its help, it was indeed much easier for me. But Yu Pang Pang is an Alaskan Malamute, and when it gets excited, it runs way too fast. I had to use all my strength to grip the wheelchair handles, to barely keep myself steady and not get pushed away. I didn't know which direction Yu Pang Pang was pushing me, but just as I was about to throw up, it finally stopped. From the gatehouse not far away came the sounds of a fight, and also Yu Shosho's uniquely spoiled voice. Hit him on the head, tap tap tap, hit him below the belt. Yu Shosho was still yelling. It gave me a headache listening, so I pushed the wheelchair over and was a bit stunned. A chubby little ragdoll, classmate Yu Shosho, stood in the corner waving a flag and cheering. A spry calico, classmate Yu Hua Hua, darted around in the air. They were beating a slender man who had no power to fight back. I stood there stunned. How could they be gone for just a moment? Could my too well-behaved and sensible kittens have started bullying people? Why are you hitting the cat? Little fatty Yu behind me widened his dog-like eyes. As soon as it saw its little friend seemingly getting beaten, it couldn't sit still and bared its teeth, wanting to rush up and help. I quickly grabbed it, struggling hard while shouting towards the fray. Stop hitting, you guys, stop hitting. If you want to fight, go fight in the dance studio. Of course, I didn't dare to shout out the sentence above. I scooped up Yu Shosho, who was still fanning the flames nearby. Yu Hua Hua, seeing me fully armed from head to toe, was momentarily stunned and also stopped fighting. A moment later, it tugged the man with its tail to me and asked nervously, "Hurt? Let me see." I waved my hands, repeatedly saying no, but it didn't believe me. It jumped onto me and sniffed me all over, and only relaxed when it found no abnormalities. "Are these the cats you're raising?" A voice gritted from my feet. I looked down and met a face that could be described as demonic. His features were exquisite, and he wore a pair of perfectly fitting gold-rimmed glasses. Even though he was torn to shreds by Yu Hua Hua and had several wounds on his face, his beauty was still undeniable. I didn't answer him, even though this man was dazzlingly handsome. I gently stroked Yu Hua Hua's back and asked it, "Are you and Shosho hurt?" "We're not hurt," Yu Shosho eagerly replied, raising its little paws, with a hint of seeking praise. "We even caught a male human for you. Cute cub." Hua Hua said it can keep you entertained. "Serve you." The man half-dead on the ground and I widened our eyes at the same time. Yu Hua Hua sat on my lap, slowly licking its paws. Finally, it said coldly, "If you don't like this one, I'll get you another one." Just as I was about to speak, the man beaten and lying on the ground quickly replied, "I'm really good at serving people." I fell silent instantly. For a moment, everyone's gaze fell on the man on the ground. Perhaps he was afraid Yu Hua Hua would get rid of him. He quickly added, "Really, I used to be a bedside attendant for my dad, and I know a lot about nursing patients." After speaking, his gaze fell on my leg, and he dryly added, "I also know a little about health training." With just these words, Yu Hua Hua immediately decided, "It's you." Yu Hua Hua and Yu Shosho had a very fruitful trip this time. They brought back a large bag of frozen beef and easy-to store instant noodles, perhaps for nutritional balance. They also managed to grab a bunch of vegetables from somewhere. Inhua climbed up from the ground and eagerly tried to help carry the things. Yu Hua Hua beckoned him to stop with her paws. Her ears twitched, and she stared at him with her yellow-green eyes for a long time before saying, "Go move those 2 boxes of water over there. Fatty, keep pushing the cart. And Zayu, you grab the stuff." Everyone followed Yu Hua Hua's instructions and went about their business. Yu Shosho used her little paws to prop up the pile of food, and the food levitated and followed behind her. Yu Pang Pang walked behind, nudging the wheelchair home with his head, happily humming an unknown little tune. After thinking it over, Inhua looked at the food floating in the air and still bent down to pick up the water. Yu Hua Hua, who had arranged everyone, stretched languidly, and then curled up on my lap. After walking for a while, the little plush toy next to the wheelchair discovered something was wrong. Its bright blue eyes wide open, Yu Shosho pawed at my wheelchair and yelled, "Unfair, this is unfair." After being swatted by Yu Huahua, she covered her face and cried, looking at me pitifully. I couldn't help but laugh and reached out to pet her a few times. To cheer her up, we went out and came back with a big harvest. We had food at home, and an extra man. As I was arranged by Yu Huahua to sit at home, I watched the man busy in the kitchen, and my mood was a little complicated, but the three little guys at home who are fighting over slippers have no idea about the complex thoughts in my heart. Inhua came out holding the cooked noodles, looked at me, and then looked at Yu Huahua who was fighting over slippers. After a while, he still chose to walk to my side and asked in a low voice, "Have your cats and dogs mutated?" I nodded. "It's like this after waking up." "That's great." Inhua's eyes were full of envy. "They didn't turn into zombies, they don't bite, and they have divine intelligence to protect their owner. You are truly the chosen one." Perhaps sensing my slightly speechless gaze, Inhua touched his face and asked, "What's wrong?" I shook my head, pushed the wheelchair forward, and said softly, "Read fewer novels. There aren't that many chosen ones. If heaven really liked me this much, how could it have made me paralyzed in both legs?" Inhua came to the nearby university town to visit his brother. As it happened, his timing was bad. Just as he was about to get on the bus to the university town, the zombies broke out. He watched helplessly as the driver turned into a zombie in agonizing struggle, his eyes bloodshot, his body rapidly decaying, and even his fingernails instantly grew over 10 centimeters. Reaching out to grab him with a roar, looking at the people in the car, panic and the sounds of tearing mixed together. As someone who had read many post-apocalyptic novels, Inhua understood everything. He turned and ran, but there were zombies everywhere in the streets and alleys, and they followed him. Smelling his scent, Inhua directly grabbed a shared bike and fled towards a less crowded place. He kept hiding and dodging, and finally hid inside the warehouse of a small supermarket. He stayed in the warehouse for one night, and just as he was about to go out to get something to eat, he heard the sounds of zombies rising and falling outside, and immediately dared not move. What followed were banging sounds, and the voices of Yu Huahua and Yu Shosho. Inhua boldly peeked out, and as a result, was caught and brought back, becoming my family's male servant. I wonder how my brother is doing. Inhua sighed. In this time of everyone for themselves, although he cared, he couldn't go find or rescue him. He thought of himself as a man, with a little strength, but not much, years of career, 996 and overtime, and long-term sedentary lifestyle without exercise. Inhua felt he was only fit to carry water and change water in the office. So when he met me, he was so straightforward and decisive, deciding to stay with me and freeload for a while. Besides those who turned into zombies or were bitten unexpectedly, there should be many other survivors. I took a sip of the water Inhua poured and looked out the window. It was already night, and the streets were no longer empty. Instead, many zombies were wandering around the residential area. The residential area, which seemed deserted, still had about a dozen households with lights on. I finished the water and said to Yu Huahua, "Let's go find other survivors together tomorrow. If we can gather all the survivors as much as possible, things might not be so bad." As soon as I finished speaking, Inhua opposite me cursed under his breath. Then I looked up and met his very confused gaze. You're actually a saint?" he asked, full of shock. I looked at Inhua and fell silent. "These remaining things in your house are barely enough for you to eat yourself, and you're still thinking about saving people." Inhua couldn't understand my thoughts, just as I couldn't understand him. "Don't you know there's an old saying in apocalypse novels that says, the apocalypse kills the saints first? A disabled woman like you, who spreads kindness everywhere, will be the first to be killed." Inhua, perhaps thinking of something, became very agitated. "Besides, how much do you know about the people outside? There aren't that many kind people in this world. If they are bad people with ulterior motives, what can you, a cripple, do?" After Inhua shouted at me excitedly, he only then belatedly froze for a moment after meeting my gaze and that of the three little ones. I didn't say anything, just quietly watched him. 5 minutes later, Inhua gradually calmed down and apologized to me. "Sorry, I got emotional just now." I poured him a glass of water to show my understanding. "It's okay, I don't mind." Indeed, in this apocalypse, most people have limited abilities. Everyone is cautious, afraid of others approaching with malice, and everyone's first thought is to protect themselves. But I gently soothed Yu Huahua, who was glaring at Inhua and trying to pounce on him with her claws. "Haven't you noticed? Those who manage to survive on their own in apocalypse novels are people with ability and enough wisdom to protect themselves in danger. They have the courage to live alone and can get enough food. Through their own efforts, they can find ways to defeat zombies, create a self-sufficient life for themselves, and survive. That's why they are the protagonists of apocalypse stories, who can be unconventional. But do you think we ordinary people, relying solely on our own strength, can survive in the apocalypse just by ourselves? Impossible. The zombies' mutations are terrifying. Most ordinary people are like me and Inhua. They are completely powerless against the terrifying attacks of zombies, and can only become their food. Do you know that in the animal kingdom, weaker animals huddle together for warmth and self-preservation? You've read so many apocalypse novels. You should know that in those novels, there are always settlements or safe zones. Those humans who spontaneously gather together are ordinary people like us, relying on each other to survive and support each other. Humans have never been solitary creatures. I stared intently at Inhua, watching his face turn from pale green to white, and then from white to dark. I don't know if he understood the meaning of my words, but I won't force him to be like me. If you don't want to go with us, it's okay. You can stick to your own ideas, and I won't compromise for anyone. Inhua, at best, could only be considered an ordinary person who was relatively good looking. If he doesn't want to, I won't force him either. I pushed the wheelchair back to the room, and Yu Huahua called Yu Shoushou over and gave her some instructions. After speaking, she gave him a cold glance before bringing Yu Pangpang and me into the room with her. The next day, I got myself ready to go out. I didn't see Inhua, but I noticed that some of the supplies brought back yesterday were missing. He's gone, Yu Shoushou said slowly while licking her hand on the sofa. He left at dawn. I saw him take 2 bottles of water, and he didn't look like he was up to anything bad, so I didn't stop him. He's at least sensible. Yu Huahua snorted, perhaps afraid that I would be upset. Yu Huahua turned to me and said, "It's okay, my good child. I'll bring more people back for you today. Don't be sad." Actually, I wasn't that sad, but seeing my little calico cat in my arms looking so serious, and then looking at the other 2 with their worried and concerned little expressions, a warm current instantly surged through my heart. "Babies, I'm not sad," I said, petting each of their little heads, "because he's not an important person. To me, you guys are the most important. OMG, my good child loves me so much." Yu Pangpang covered her mouth, looking utterly content. "You eat shit. You love me the most." Yu Shoushou swiped a paw, hitting Fatty's little face right on the mark. The 2 little ones were fooling around. Yu Huahua, who had been on my lap the whole time, glanced at the 2 of them and continued to gracefully lick her paws. The zombies seemed somewhat afraid of light. The neighborhood was quiet during the day, and there were hardly any zombies to be seen on the streets. We arrived downstairs. After confirming there wasn't much threat, Yu Pangpang tiptoed and quietly pushed me forward. I stood in the sunlight after a long time, observed my surroundings, and asked with some confusion, where did all the zombies go during the day? The underground parking lot. A familiar voice suddenly came from above. I looked up and met Ian with somewhat evasive gaze. He pursed his lips, took over Yu Pangpang's pushing duty, and continued, "I just made a round and found a huge wave of zombies gathered in the underground parking lot. There are also some wandering in the stairwells. Ordinary zombies fear light, but zombies are not afraid, so we need to be more careful." I responded, not asking where he had been or why he had returned. None of that was very important. What was important was that, at this moment, he was standing with me, and we were going to search for survivors nearby. There should still be some survivors in this neighborhood, but this zombie tide came suddenly, and basically no one was wandering outside. We walked from the neighborhood all the way to the street, and it was unexpectedly smooth sailing. As soon as I exited the neighborhood, I encountered quite a few zombies wandering around on the road. To avoid the sound of the wheelchair disturbing them, Inhua simply picked me up and carried me on his back. I'm not very comfortable with close physical contact with people, let alone a man, so when I was on Inhua's back, I tried very hard to straighten myself up, attempting not to be too close to him. "Don't fidget." Inhua noticed my resistance, looked back at me, and said with a frown, "You're already very light. You don't need to straighten up to reduce my burden. You might fall off like this, you know." Under his serious gaze, my face suddenly flushed red. I don't know if he noticed my little thoughts or not. My heart was beating fast and rapidly. I couldn't understand, and as soon as he finished speaking, the 3 little ones around us, upon hearing that I might fall, immediately became very anxious. Yu Shoushou even raised her little paws and excitedly declared, "Idiot human, you can't carry well. Let me." I glanced at its plump gas tank-like body, standing beside Inhua. It wasn't even as tall as Inhua's knees, After a pause, I said to Yu Shosho, "It's okay, baby, I'll hold on tight and won't fall." Yu Shosho stared at Inhwa and mumbled something I couldn't understand, and was quite indignant all the way, to look for any sign of survivors. I had Inhwa carry me towards the largest mall near the residential area. We were quite lucky, as we ran headlong into a group of people right at the mall entrance. That group of survivors consisted of about 12 people, each holding a weapon, looking at us nervously and warily. "Where are you from?" someone in the crowd shouted. "We mean no harm." Inhwa frowned and said to them, "Friend, we are humans. What are you carrying on your back? Is it a person? Is she injured?" The barrage of 3 consecutive questions from the other side caused the entire team to instinctively step back several paces. "She's not injured, she's my sister. She just has some problems with her legs and can't walk," Inhwa quickly explained, afraid they would be scared and cause a conflict, but most of them still didn't believe it, and were whispering to each other. I peeked out from Inhwa's shoulder, squinting at the 12 or so still rather tender youths opposite us. My gaze paused when it met the eyes of a relatively calm, tall man. "Meng Yangqiu," I said to the man wearing gold-rimmed glasses. Meng Yangqiu obviously didn't expect to see me here either, and froze in place. A moment later, under everyone's watchful eyes, he quickly ran towards me. "How long has it been since we broke up? And you've already ended up like this?" Meng Yangqiu came straight over and took me off Inhwa's back. He said some mocking words to me, but I still noticed that his eyes were slightly red. "Maybe it's karma," I said with a laugh, facing Meng Yangqiu, my childhood sweetheart who grew up together and relied on each other for nearly 20 years. I was rarely a little relaxed. Meng Yangqiu's face darkened. He slapped my mouth and said, "Quick, say, poo poo poo." After I spat twice, he was satisfied, then looked down and saw 3 little guys with bright eyes looking at him. He suddenly started laughing and called them one by one. "Hua hua, Shou Shou, Pang Pang." Yu Pong Pong's eyes lit up instantly. It still liked this former male owner a lot. The other 2 kittens, however, held their heads high, appearing too proud to bother with him. Meng Yangqiu didn't mind. He petted their heads one by one. His gaze fell on Inhwa, and lingered for a few seconds. Then he smiled and said, "Thank you for taking care of Xiaoran and the others. Now hand her over to me." Inhwa stiffly watched him hug me, and walked towards the group of more than 10 people. After a long silence, he finally got up and followed behind him. "Where did you find so many people?" In Meng Yangqiu's arms. I looked at the group of teenagers curiously sizing me up, smiled and greeted them, showing my friendly signal. "They're all my students." Meng Yangqiu chimed in. "I became a counselor at the nearby Jida when the zombie tide began." Meng Yangqiu was holding a mobilization meeting for the school sports meet for his students in the classroom. Halfway through the meeting, someone in the class started biting others. The scene was chaotic. In just a little over 10 minutes, almost 2/3 of the people in his class had turned into those monstrous, neither human nor ghost creatures. Meng Yangqiu's scalp tingled. He could only lead the remaining 20-something students to run out and find a safe place, but at this time, the entire school was filled with biting zombies, and some zombies had even mutated, possessing very powerful abilities. Jumping 6 meters was considered a minor ability, while others ran extremely fast. Some could burrow underground, and others could fly. Even though Meng Yangqiu led the students to fight desperately with weapons, still, nearly 10 students fell on the way out, becoming new zombie monsters. During this time, they were really in an extremely tense state, both mentally and physically. It was inevitable that their speech would be a bit irritable, so when someone saw that my legs couldn't move, a girl's complaint came from the crowd, saying, "Why did the teacher bring someone paralyzed? Isn't this just adding a burden to us?" Exactly. Our numbers are already dwindling." Yu Huahua couldn't stand seeing me wronged the most. Her body immediately bristled, and she was about to speak up for me. I quietly stopped its actions, signaling the remaining 2 who were huffing and puffing not to speak, admiring the strong and bullying the weak. This is also a common human trait, not to mention during this special period. No one wants someone who holds them back in the group. If they don't welcome me, I won't go out of my way to please them, nor will I eagerly present my trump cards for them to see. I lowered my eyes and smoothed Yu Huahua's puffed up fur, again and again. It was something I had long anticipated that Meng Yangqiu would stand by my side. It's just that I didn't expect he would go this far for me. After hearing clearly the resentful words of the students he brought out, Meng Yangqiu's face turned ashen. He held me and retreated 2 steps, standing on the opposite side of them. "Classmates, she is a very important family member to me, and no matter what, I must take her with me." If you are unwilling to take her, then I won't force it, but from now on, we may not be able to travel together. Let's part ways here. You are all adults, and I am not much older than you. I wish you all a safe journey home." The crowd immediately became agitated, with some disagreeing on whether to take me with them. In the end, self-interest prevailed. After all, without any ties, no one wanted to bring along such a burden. 2 boys came out, leading the remaining students towards the mall. Meng Yangqiu and his original goal was to find preserved food in the mall, but I didn't expect to run into this change of mind at the entrance of the mall, so that Meng Yangqiu would part ways with them here. Everyone walked inside one after another, and sympathetic glances fell on me from time to time, disappearing in an instant, not daring to look again. "Let's go in too." Meng Yangqiu squinted as he looked at the mall. "We have enough food, and they can't take much anyway. We can just come back later if worse comes to worst. There's no need to fight over it with them." Inhua frowned and offered his suggestion at this moment. Meng Yangqiu turned his head to look at him, something flashing in his eyes. The 2 men stared at each other silently, and I, peeking at the mall, suddenly said, "This is the biggest and busiest mall within 10 kilometers of us, right? It covers a very large area, and at the same time, the daily customer traffic is also very huge." Meng Yangqiu and I exchanged a look, and we both saw the other's thoughts in each other's eyes. "Hurry up and go in. Stop them," I shouted loudly. Meng Yangqiu and Inhua immediately reacted, but one was holding me, and the other wasn't running fast enough. "Pang pang," I shouted again, and the little chubby guy who had been following us closely quickly stepped out. "Go in and see if they need help, and be sure to ensure your own safety." I looked at its beautiful round eyes and instructed word by word, emphasizing the last few words. "Okay." Yu Pang Pang agreed with a sound and ran into the mall as fast as lightning. Yu Xiuxiu and Yu Huahua also subconsciously followed behind, and ran in a flash. I watched their backs gradually disappear from sight, feeling a little uneasy. Raising my eyes to look at Meng Yangqiu, I saw that he didn't seem too shocked, perhaps sensing my surprised gaze. Meng Yangqiu raised an eyebrow and said, "This world even has zombies, so what's impossible? There's no need to be so surprised." We hurried to the entrance of the mall, and heard a heart-wrenching cry from inside. Immediately after, the previously quiet mall suddenly became restless, and the roars of zombies erupted one after another. The worst-case scenario has happened after all. Going down now would be extremely dangerous. Inhua's face turned pale. He hesitated, his gaze sliding from me down to my unconscious legs, wanting me to say something. I took out a folding fruit knife I had prepared from my pocket. "Find a hidden spot to put me down, and go save them." I gestured with the fruit knife, telling Meng Yangqiu that I had some ability to resist myself. Meng Yangqiu was a bit hesitant, and Inhua quickly came up to take me, patting his chest and saying, "You go. It's fine. I'll protect him." I was silent for a moment after hearing Inhua's words. For some reason, I felt that with his courage, it would be more like me protecting him. Meng Yangqiu seemed to have thought of this too. With my slight nod of acknowledgement, he thought about it and agreed. He opened the security booth at the entrance, letting Inhua and me in. He took something out of his pocket and stuffed it into my hand, then said to me, "Protect yourself. You too." I pressed down on his hand that was trying to give me the item, and put it back for him. "Stop dawdling. If this goes on, there will be more zombies here." Meng Yangqiu finally stopped fussing. He gave me a deep look and ran into the mall. I fumbled with the glass door of the security booth, peering outside. Inhua was also nervous, glancing outside from time to time, pacing anxiously in the cramped security booth. His mentality was somewhat collapsing, anxious and scared. "You too, really? I've never met people like this in my entire life." At this time, everyone is only thinking about how to save themselves. You too, on the other hand, are going to save someone who doesn't even want to bring you along. How pathetic. He was so angry he was almost jumping up and down. Inhua was an ordinary person, possessing all the emotions an ordinary person would have. On one hand, he sympathized with me, and on the other hand, he was afraid of losing his life, because he had a very high sense of morality and didn't want to abandon me and run. He resented me for interfering in these matters. He hated that my kindness flared up and I was going to save a group of people who didn't think much of me in the first place. These complex emotions intertwined, forming Inhua's current anxious and irritable state. I could understand his thoughts right now, so I reached out and patted his arm, not knowing what else to say. After thinking for a long time, I managed to blurt out, "If it really doesn't work out, just throw me out and save yourself." Upon hearing this, Inhua glared at me fiercely, then crouched beside me, unable to say anything at all. Time passed agonizingly slowly, with shouts and screams from inside the mall ceaseless. Inhwa was so tense that his legs were trembling slightly. He simply carried me on his back ahead of time and said to me in a firm tone, "As soon as something goes wrong, I'll immediately run with you on my back. Hold on tight yourself. I won't have much energy to pay attention to you when I'm running for my life." I smiled and responded with an my gaze fixed on the mall's main entrance. Time trickled by, second by second. Just as I was about to fall into a state of anxiety myself, there was finally some movement at the main entrance. Yu Pang, with a man's clothes in his mouth, was forcefully dragging him out the main door, carrying a pale, terrified girl on his back. It kept running outwards, without once looking back. "Don't come out." Inhwa blocked me, looked at my leg, and then walked out of the security room himself to go help. After Inhwa checked the two trembling young people, he dumped them all into the security room. "Take a deep breath. Inhale, exhale." I tried to calm their agitated emotions. After a rough inquiry, the two people had no significant wounds other than some drag marks. From Yu Pang, the two were trembling, a little hesitant to look up and face my concerned gaze. I didn't mind, and after a period of comforting, I continued to look at the door. At this time, Yu Pang was also lingering at the door, and Yu Huahua and Yu Shoushou, who had gone down, along with Meng Yanqiu, had not returned. I suppressed the tension in my heart and stared intently at the door, so I didn't notice that the two people brought back by Yu Pang were covering their arms in unison, with dozens of bluish marks spreading from their arms towards their bodies. The two of them endured and didn't make a sound, while my attention was all outside, and I didn't notice at all. It wasn't until Meng Yanqiu and the figures of two small cats appeared at the entrance of the mall that I suddenly breathed a sigh of relief, and reached out to wave at them laboriously, and at the same time, Meng Yanqiu saw the changes behind me clearly, and his entire face instantly became contorted. He shouted from a great distance away, and I could only see his anxious expression, unable to hear what he was saying at all. Inhwa and Yu Pang were in the middle, and they both turned to look at me abruptly and ran towards me quickly, in unison. I didn't hear Meng Yanqiu shouting, but I saw Inhwa's terrified expression, and heard the creaking sound of bones colliding from behind me. I turned my head stiffly and met the eyes of the two people, who were already half zombified. This was the first time I had faced zombies up close by myself, and it was in a nearly sealed small space, and I was still a useless person who couldn't move, with paralyzed legs. How is it that no matter how I solve this problem, I seem to be in their grasp? I watched the two people, whose eyes were covered with a red membrane, whose mouths were cracked and sharp teeth had grown, drooling at the smell of me, and inching closer to me, and I clenched the small knife in my hand. With just this small knife, I wouldn't be able to withstand their fierce assault, and I would definitely get hurt. My gaze quickly scanned the security room for anything that could help me. The security room only had a simple table and a chair. On the table was an old desktop computer, along with some paper and pens. There was nothing else. However, the security guard here might have a habit of napping, as there was a folding chair in the corner. The folding chair was within my reach. I didn't dare to delay any longer, so I dragged the folding chair, pulled it out, and threw it forcefully towards the two zombies. The moment the zombie was hit by the folding chair, I used all my strength. Using the chair, I pushed up with both hands, and suddenly lifted my body, holding the small knife and pressing down. The folding bed wasn't heavy, but with my weight, it should barely be enough. Fortunately, they had only just turned into zombies, and their bodies hadn't completely changed yet. Their bodies were stiff, and when I suddenly pinned them down, they involuntarily fell to the other side. "Sorry," I trembled, holding the knife, looking at the zombie whose face was already covered in bluish, black blood streaks. Taking a deep breath, I closed my eyes slightly, then the knife fell hard. When Meng Yanqiu suddenly opened the door, my hands were covered in a greenish, foul, smelling blood like gutter water. I stared blankly at the door, but my body was still pinned down on the two zombies that were no longer moving. Inhua instinctively took a step back, while Meng Yanqiu rushed in, grabbed my hand, and pulled me into his arms. He checked my exposed skin all over, and after confirming there were no wounds, he let out a long sigh and said, it's okay, don't be scared, you were very brave." My head was swimming, and all I remembered was being held tightly by Meng Yanqiu. Yu Huahua, along with Yu Shoushou and Yu Pang, had been standing by the side the whole time, with Inhua standing at the back. The students Meng Yanqiu brought out, with his help, barely managed to escape, while the others were permanently left in the mall, waiting for the next unlucky person to come in. Meng Yanqiu took us all to his villa to settle down. Ever since I killed zombies with my own hands that time, I was in a daze for a while. Every time I closed my eyes, the two zombies in my dreams turned into two trembling people. I had just comforted them and told them not to worry, but when I turned around, I was met with two ashen faces dripping with saliva. Fortunately, after waking up from my dreams, three fluffy little heads would snuggle up next to me. Yuhuahua looked at my wide, open eyes nervously and silently used its tail to block the light for me. Yuhuahua felt very guilty, thinking it was because it didn't take good care of me. Moreover, it was also very angry with the other two little chubby ones. After that, it often scolded Yu Shoushou and Yu Pang Pang, and took them for special training so that they could rush to save me the first moment I was in danger. So the three little guys spent their days leaping and bounding around Meng Yanqiu's villa, wrecking the place. I saw everything they did, and all I felt was amusement and then moved touched. Meng Yanqiu also came over and said, "Little ones, you're tearing the villa apart. Aren't you going to stop them?" I waved my hand, indicating I was powerless. These three were determined to practice their skills to protect me well. Meng Yanqiu just said it and laughed it off. He sat beside me and asked, "What are your plans next?" I withdrew my gaze from the bouncing figures of the three little ones, and turned my head to look at him. "Your thoughts are probably the same as mine, right?" I looked at him with a smile. Otherwise, he wouldn't have desperately brought so many students out of the university town, nor would he have gone back to the mall to rescue people, after openly stating things with them. "I'm not that noble." Meng Yanqiu sighed lightly. "Let's try to survive first, then figure out how to expand our personnel. The zombies outside are evolving too fast. If this continues, we few have no chance of winning against them. If there were more people who were united, perhaps they could live longer, or perhaps they could find a way to save humanity." Meng Yanqiu and I met eyes and smiled simultaneously, because we knew our thoughts were aligned. For the next period, Meng Yanqiu, Inhua, and two other surviving students went out early and returned late. They first cleared the remaining zombies near the villa and then went out to search for food. I stayed in the villa's basement, trying to grow vegetables like potatoes and mushrooms. Meng Yanqiu would bring back varying amounts of building materials every time he returned. Sometimes we also find some survivors who look dazed. At night, everyone reinforced the villa's perimeter with materials together. In a little over a month, our team of 5 people and 3 cats had expanded into a small team of over 20 people. There were men and women, old and young. Everyone worked together to clear out the villa area. We put up railings, divided our labor, and split into an expedition team, a patrol team, and a food team. Meng Yanqiu wanted to take the 3 little ones out with the expedition team to find food. The 3 little ones agreed, but each time one had to stay by my side, protecting me without leaving. Several times they even argued over who would stay, getting into a scuffle. My vision went black, and I almost fainted, but the food team was mostly made up of girls, and they planted grain in every visible corner. After planting the grain, a large portion of the girls also started following behind the expedition team, diligently carrying supplies and searching for survivors nearby. Inhua's younger brother stumbled and fell at the villa entrance. In the 5th month, he was skin and bones, with not a bit of flesh visible on his face. When he was brought back, his hands trembled as he ate. By then, our survivor area had already become somewhat established, with nearly 100 people, while Inhua's younger brother was hiding out. He accidentally learned about this place and then rushed here day and night without stopping. The 2 brothers hugged and cried after meeting, as if to cry away all the grievances and fears of this period. A year later, our survivor zone became a survivor base. The area expanded, and there were more people. Meng Yanqiu always went out early and returned late, leading people to clear out the nearby zombies again and again, reclaiming more territory for humans. On the spring festival of the 2nd year, Meng Yanqiu, emboldened by alcohol, asked me, "Can you give me another chance to take care of you?" I placed my hand in his palm and replied, "Yes." 2 cat paws followed suit, also placed in his palm. A beat slower, Yu Pang Pang, under a smack from Yu Huahua, adorably also put its paws up. I couldn't help but laugh as I looked at them, picking them up and kissing them again and again. Meng Yanqiu also smiled, watching me, his gaze not moving an inch. In the apocalypse, who knows what tomorrow will bring, but we will still cherish every happy moment of the present with all our hearts.